Welcome to the Jackson County Sheriff Debate. This is sponsored by the Jackson County Republican Central Committee. My name is Darla Chappell, and I have the honor of being the committee chairperson. The purpose of this debate is to allow voters to hear from our candidates and make an informed decision at the June 4th primary. Our debate team has worked tirelessly on the planning for tonight. The chair of the team, Mary Keys, is unable to attend, but her work is appreciated. Other members of the team, Monica McHugh and Chris Fogg, both of you give a good wave where we know where you're at. They worked with Mary and jumped in tonight to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Now I would like to ask you to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lastly, a special thank you to Sheriff Kilburg and Chief Schrader for agreeing to this debate. Thank you very much. I will now turn the microphone over to our moderator, the dedicated and hard-working Jackson County Attorney, John Keys.
Good morning, folks. And it's good to see some good crowd here. It's my honor to be the moderator of this event. We're going to get right into it. I've known both of these gentlemen for many years and had a lot of respect for both of them. So I'm sure we'll have a good, we'll learn some good information about both of them, even though probably everyone in this room has known both of these people well for many years. All right, the way it's going to work here is each candidate will have an opening statement lasting up to 3 minutes. We have our official time clock will be at this table. I understand it will be ruthlessly enforced. As the incumbent candidate, Sheriff Kilburg, will go first with the opening statement. We will then take questions, 5 questions from the debate committee. And each candidate will get 2 minutes for each and then 1 minute for rebuttal. There will be a 30-second post rebuttal, so each person will get a chance to respond to the other person's statements. We'll take 3 questions from the audience. Again, the same format, 3 minutes. Then we'll give closing statements. And again, we'll reverse that. We'll give them first chance at the closing statement. And then the incumbent will give the final closing statement. As to who answers the first question, we'll need to do a coin toss. I'm going to end the coin. I'm sorry. All right, it doesn't matter if somebody has the coin. If Representative Bradley would do the honors of doing the coin toss. Okay, Sheriff Baldwin. Tails. All right, Chief Schrader, your choice. Do you want to take the first question, or are you going to defer? All right, the sheriff will give the first of his opening statement and then handle the first question. So, I guess I should introduce the sheriff. Off to my left is Brent Kilburg. He's the incumbent sheriff running for re-election. And the Republican challenger to my right is Chief Dennis Schrader, the current chief of Bellevue. Sheriff Kilburg.
First of all, before you start the timer there, Monica, how's this for sound? Can everybody hear it okay? Is it good? Oops, I think I just lost. Okay, there it's back. Mark, how are you in the back? You good to go? Okay. Let me know when you're ready, Monica. All right. Good evening. I'm Sheriff Brent Kilburg, and first I'd like to give thanks to all of you for coming, the Timber Center, and the Republican Party for putting this on tonight. I was born and raised in Jackson County on a small dairy farm between Bellevue, Andrew, and Springbrook. I've helped my parents farm my entire life, and I've ran that family farm for the last 12 years. I put myself through college at St. Ambrose University, where I got a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice and a minor in Psychology. Ambrose is where I also met my wife, Lynn, who's in the front row to my left here. She's an occupational therapist. She's the Dean of the College of Health and Human Services at Ambrose. We've raised 4 great kids together in our 26 years of marriage. I'm also an Army veteran. I joined the Army National Guard in 1988. I was the honor grad at a lot of my leadership schools, and I also achieved my top secret clearance with secret compartmentalized information credentials. On my Iraq deployment, I was the IZ liaison officer in the Green Zone that coordinated protective security detail missions between the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. military. And on my Afghanistan deployment, I was the battle captain that ran the Tactical Operations Center in charge of all of northern Afghanistan. I was promoted to Master Sergeant in my first 20 years in the enlisted ranks, and then I commissioned to the officer side, where I later retired as a captain after a 32-year distinguished career, where I was awarded several Army Commendation Medals and a couple meritorious service medals. Both my command and staff duty positions helped prepare me for running the Sheriff's Office. I started my law enforcement career 31 years ago at the Maquoketa Police Department, but I did not spend my entire career here. I was hungry for more experience and exposure. I left the comforts of home to prove myself in larger agencies. I didn't have the luxury of being promoted because of my family name, who I was related to or friends with, or just because I'd been at the agency longer than anyone else. Not having that luxury proved beneficial in the long run, as it exposed me to many different opportunities. Those opportunities challenged me to work harder, to develop and grow into a more diverse, professional, and experienced law enforcement officer. A shortened list of those duty positions include DARE officer, field training officer, evidence technician, school resource officer, defensive tactics instructor, SWAT team leader, and one of my most interesting assignments was an undercover narcotics agent, where I bought illegal drugs on the street, stolen guns, and we even did a murder for hire case. Aside from all the local committees and boards that I'm on, I also serve on the legislative committee for the Iowa State Sheriffs and Deputies Association. Since I took office in 2021, we've accomplished professional leadership, improved competence, proactive patrolling, protected the community, protected the taxpayers, and networked with all other law enforcement agencies to multiply the results of our efforts. We accomplished these goals and more in just 3 short years. I'll continue to improve on these accomplishments every day I'm allowed to serve as your sheriff. Please re-elect Sheriff Brent Kilberg on June 4th if you want to continue this forward progression.
Thank you, Sheriff Kilberg, and now Chief Schrader.
Hello, I want to welcome everybody also. My name is Dennis Schrader. I'm the Chief of Police in Bellevue. I'm a lifelong resident of Jackson County. This is my home. This is not a shell game where I'm at the moment. I live here, I work here, I farm here. This is where I want to be. I'm married to Jeanette Hartung. She's also in the audience tonight. She's the elementary principal. We have 3 adult children that went to school here. I'm intimately involved with the school systems. I'm a teacher. I'm a DARE officer for 32 years. I coach, I referee, I volunteer. I'm the head of the civic groups that I organize within the community. When I'm done doing this, this is where I'm at. I am still here. I'm not a transit. I am not using my community involvement because of the election. I think my qualifications and experience speak for themselves. I've been in law enforcement for 33 plus years. I've been in many roles, from patrolman, assistant chief, to now the chief for 3 plus years. I've had 25 years of administrative experience. In Sheriff Kilberg's word, experience matters. I, along with Chris Reed, have been a big part of organizing the process of bringing school safety and response to incidents to all the schools in Jackson County. Testing. Hold it up. Test. Okay, now we got it. I've been in the Bellevue schools for 32 years. Today, more than ever, these young folks need to have us as role models. Why do I want to be the sheriff? I'm proud to be a Jackson County resident, but we can do better. I have impacted my hometown with a community policing philosophy. I would like to expand that philosophy in the entire county. This philosophy is based on being able to work with all and have their respect. We need to unify departments in the county. We will need to repair some relationships with the other departments. We must keep up with the changing times. They're always changing. I will have a deputy trained in cyber crimes and scams to protect our senior citizens. This deputy will go around and put programs on to try to avoid these crimes. I want our deputies to be productive. The sheriff is a caretaker. He must trust his deputies, or they will leave. Test. Hello. 6 deputies have left since Sheriff Kilbrick began. There are deputies who think they don't have value. If you don't have value, you won't get production. You cannot micromanage your office. Schedule is huge. We have days when 4 and 5 deputies are working the day shift at 10 o'clock in the morning. That leaves less people working nights and weekends. I can, I'm on a time schedule.
Just use one mic, there's something wrong with that mic.
Testing, 1, 2.
Or maybe you're holding it too close to your mouth.
Yeah, you kind of get the sweet spot there. Why don't you take another few seconds there, Dennis, and wrap it up for us?
Like this? Can you hear that? Okay. 4 or 5 deputies are working the morning shift. That leaves less people working nights and weekends. The sheriff needs to have a set schedule daily. When I'm elected, I will work Tuesday through Saturday to help cover the weekend shifts. I will answer calls and not pass them off. Thank you. I would appreciate your vote on June 4th.
All right, thank you, Chief Schrader. So Dennis won the coin toss, and he is deferred to the incumbent, Fred Kilburg. So I've got,
You want to play the both?
are these the vote? Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, the question committee, first, the sheriff will answer first. Okay, Sheriff Kilburg, can you give an example of a time in your career when doing the right thing was extremely difficult based on a personal connection or relationship that you may have had with the person involved?
Okay, when I was a young deputy for Scott County, I have several examples of this, but one of the things that happened within a 30-day time period is I ended up arresting the sheriff's, my boss's niece, a state trooper's sister, and the wife of the State Patrol Command Post 12, to the point where I was almost feeling like something was going on. There's also a time in my life where me and another family member we're the only 2 state's witnesses that had to testify against another family member that resulted in them getting into some trouble with the law. So those are some very difficult things for me to go through. But I'm a firm believer in being impartial and treating everyone fairly and upholding the law equally and to everyone in the community. It doesn't matter who you are. The Lady of Justice wears a blindfold for a reason, and we just need to treat everyone equally and fairly as much as we can. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Chief?
Same question?
Same question, please.
Same question. I have to go back to probably family members. I had a disorderly conduct at 2 o'clock in the morning when I was working 3rd shift. I end up writing this family member a ticket and gave them a choice to either go home with my mom and dad, which is their mom and dad, or go to jail. Well, they made the right choice. I ended up writing a disorderly conduct.
Can you guys hear that?
And
Do about this space.
hello, test, test, test.
Test.
Okay, testing 1, 2. Just like this.
Use the other one and I'll switch it out, but I don't think you can touch the ground. Yeah, keep it out.
Yeah, I think that's. Testing. I don't think we don't have power on this one.
Press and hold.
Press and hold. There we go. So in law enforcement, you have to make a lot of tough decisions. Like Brent said, we don't make the laws, we just enforce them to the best we can. Another tough situation when some of my friends were basically egging the house, toilet paper the house, and I ended up writing a bunch of those too. A few of them didn't talk to me for a while, but they came around, and once again, we don't write the rules, we just enforce it to the best possible we can. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief Schrader. That wasn't really a back and forth, so maybe we'll move on to the next question for both of you. Question, During the recent session, the Iowa legislature passed a bill and Governor Reynolds signed into law permitting trained staff to be armed at school. What is your opinion of this law? As sheriff, how will you work with schools as they implement this policy during the next school year?
Me. I have neutral thoughts on that. I think it's good and I think it's bad. The bad part is the training. The good part is you put guns into school. If they're qualified, as sheriff, I was a firearms instructor for 31 years. So I certified a lot of officers in 31 years, from reserves to our officers to, at one time I did everybody in the county. So I think we would implement, if the superintendents would let us train their teachers, not as much as we do. We have to go through 1,000 rounds, nights, days, shooting, but they'd have to do some extended training. Because like I said, if there's a bad incident, it's going to take 2 to 3 minutes and that incident's over. So if we have somebody trained, willing, and that was the first question I had asked myself when I got into law enforcement is, could I shoot somebody? And it took me a while, like a few days to figure out, could I save somebody's life by shooting? And I think that's what these teachers have to ask. Can you shoot a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid? If I had to do that, I would probably do it to save people, but then I would probably have to retire because I couldn't take that. That would be terrible. But with the right training and the proper and security of that weapon while they're in school, I have no problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Schrader. Sheriff Gilbert.
Same question.
Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics to that question. The first is, it's kind of like being in the military. Not even everybody in the military is trained to go out onto the battlefield and be a warrior. There are many jobs in the military. So the first thing is the psychology of that. I'm sure there are teachers out there who want nothing to do with that, and I can respect that. There may be teachers out there that want that, but do I trust those teachers to be carrying a gun in school? We all know someone who may be a little overzealous about carrying a firearm. I'm not saying teachers are that way, but all people are different, and you're not sure. And we all may think we know how we're going to react when we get put in that situation, but we don't really know either until it happens. I was just talking to the Marquette school director the other day, and he said they had an incident up there and had a teacher kind of react differently than what they thought they would. And I know even going overseas into foreign countries on deployments, we have guys in training that you think they're going to act a certain way in combat, and then they act differently, and you're like, well, it's because it's a different environment, and you didn't really see that coming. But anyway, so even overseas, it's a hard thing. A lot of times it's young aged men that are pointing firearms at you and trying to blow your convoys up and stuff like that. So it's a mental hurdle you have to deal with. Teachers don't generally get into the education system with that in their mind to go out and have to do that. And I don't fault them for that, but that's a tricky one. It's not that I'm against it, but if someone's not prepared to take a life in the right situation under the right circumstances, you're maybe introducing a gun into a situation where there wasn't one before, and now there is one available. So, I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. I think that comes down to the individual teacher and whether they're mentally prepared to deal with that and have the experience and ability to do that.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Next question also to both candidates. What are your views on collaboration with other law enforcement agencies? How have you worked together? Have you ever worked with a federal agency, and in what capacity?
I wholeheartedly believe in collaboration with other law enforcement agencies. I think all the police departments in the county would agree with you that that's been a lot better since I've taken office. In the past, there's been some invisible barriers between the sheriff's office and some of the police departments, and we've worked hard to get rid of that and knock those walls down. Even here in Maquoketa, one of the first things me and my chief deputy started doing was backing Maquoketa Police Department up on calls that sounded serious and where they needed help, and I think they were kind of shocked at first. But that's what we do. Just because it's in the city doesn't mean it's not in the county. So we network and partner with a lot of people. And we brought in training like the alert, the rapid response training and the critical incident training that had never probably been brought into the county before. And we opened it up and offered it to the other law enforcement agencies, and they were able to take advantage of that. Without us bringing it in and hosting it, they may not have had that opportunity. So I believe I'm a big collaborator with every law enforcement agency out there. The state agencies, federal agencies, everybody. When I was an undercover narcotics agent, we worked closely with all the police departments and sheriff's offices in the Quad Cities, to include the state police on both sides of the river, with the federal gang task force. When we had our incident out at the Maquoketa Caves, I noticed one of the ATF agents rolling through on his way out as we were wrapping up later in the afternoon, and I stopped him. I said, "What's the ATF doing here?" And I won't say his name to protect him, but he said, "Al, we heard you had some trouble up here," and it was basically because they knew me, so they were out doing a search warrant. So they said, "Al, let's just roll up to Maquoketa and see if we can help Kilbrick out with what he's got going on at the Maquoketa Caves." So building those bridges and those relationships goes a long way. I have a lot of people all throughout eastern Iowa, all the way out to Des Moines, and even on the Illinois side of the river that can reach out to whenever I need a hand.
Chief Schrader,
Let me see the question again.
you want me to read it again, or?
Yeah, read it again.
The question is, what are your views on collaboration with other law enforcement agencies? How have you worked together, and have you ever worked with a federal agency, and what capacity?
Yes, I agree with Sheriff Kilbrick that the collaboration between the departments have been really good. We work well together. I have no problem sending my guys, and we've gone to Maquoketa, we've gone to Springbrook, we've gone to Lamont, Preston. I mean, if these deputies need help, I tell them to go. I said, get there safely. I had one hit a deer on the way back. But I said, get there safely. If you go 110 miles an hour to get there and you cause an accident, now we got two bad situations going on. Get there safely, I don't care. We'll worry about what the council's going to say later on in life. We're out here to help us each other out, and I think we've done a good job. We started having chief meetings with the county. The sheriff was going to do that, and we've had one here and maybe two here. But and then we stopped doing that for a reason. There we go. But we've had a couple of chief meetings, but we were going to meet quarterly, and we haven't had those in a couple of years. But federally wise, we've had a couple guys from Bellevue that were on actually the one was on one of the top 10 most wanted lists that used to be in Bellevue. Actually arrested him a long time ago for burglary at the high school. And they check in from time to time. I think he's deceased, but they still got him on the list. I have a brother-in-law that works for the marshal's office. I got friends that work at the marshal's office. So we make contacts, like Brent said, we make contacts whenever we need it. If we need assistance from the FBI, we get it. We had a couple scams that took a lot of big money from businesses. We got the FBI involved in that. And to us, it's big, $30,000, $40,000, but to them, $30,000 is not big to the FBI. So they're going to make a case of it, but they're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Schrader. Okay, now the committee has prepared specific questions for each candidate. And so this one will be to Brent. Why don't we...
Right?
You won the toss. Do you want to?
Okay. Yeah, no, Brent can have it. Thanks, Brent.
I'll take it.
All right. Brent, what's been your greatest challenge as sheriff, and how have you addressed these challenges?
So I knew in the beginning the greatest challenge was going to be making the cultural changes that I wanted to make in the sheriff's office up here. Anytime you make change, people get uncomfortable, and it makes them uneasy. It's not the way they've always done it before, and so it kind of upsets their apple cart. So we've tried to make those changes slow and kind of ease into them. And we've done a great job, and the deputies have come a long way. You know, I see Russ Long sitting in the audience. I saw Terry Rowling walk in earlier. These guys have been there 30-plus years. Russ, I think, is, what, on 40? Not to call you out, but 42 maybe. So anytime you take somebody who's been doing a job the same way, the way they've always done it for so long, and you want to inject and introduce new things, they may fight you. They want to resist that because it's not comfortable to them maybe. So the number one biggest challenge was probably the cultural change we had to make. And all those guys have done a great job adjusting to that. And I give compliments to Russ even for coming along and doing that with us as long as he's been in the job. That was the biggest thing, just making those changes and getting people to be comfortable with that, getting even the community and society to be comfortable with some of those changes we needed to make, and it's all for the betterment of the department. And it's really improved morale and made everybody more knowledgeable and more of an expert and experienced in what they do. And even hiring some of our new guys has helped with that too, because they brought experience from outside agencies and brought that into our department. And it's just like in the military, we change commanders every 2 years, and the unit has to adjust to the commander, not the commander to the unit. So commanders come from another unit, and they bring expertise from that unit that we may have never thought of or may have never done or seen. So you constantly look for the good and leave the bad behind.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Chief Schrader, question to you. Why are you the best person for the job of Jackson County Sheriff? Can you describe the steps you've taken to better prepare yourself for the duties of sheriff?
Like I said in my opening statement, experience, professionalism. I've been here for 33 plus years. I work well with councils, managers for several years. I know how to get things done, okay? I'm not a procrastinator. I work with budgets. You gotta crawl before you can walk, you gotta walk before you can run, and that's what I've done I started out as a police officer to assistant chief and now chief. So you have to get involved with it, you have to be able to talk to people, you have to be able to get out into the community. In this case, as a sheriff, you have to get out in all the counties. Businesses, and I think I do a good job of that right now. I'm not even the sheriff, but I can go into a lot of places and they know me by Bud. So I don't care if I'm in St. Donatus, Springbrook, Lamont, Preston. I get around the county as a police officer, off duty, then they know. So I think that's a big thing to do is getting into law enforcement is you have to be able to get out and meet the public, respect the public, listen to the public, and then react to the public. And I think I have the experience to do that. I have 25 years of administrative experience. Don't want to say this bad, but Brent, you have the sheriff. You got 3.5 years of administrative experience. So I think I have a lot more experience in budgets and stuff like that than you do. That's what would make me the best guy for this sheriff on June 4th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief Schrader.
Steve, Bud.
What?
Dennis, not Steve.
I didn't say Steve was chief. Okay.
I wasn't even paying attention.
It's chief. Listen, I know both of these guys, and it's Bud and Brett for me, but I'm just trying to keep it a little professional. So, Brent, what do you see as the most important accomplishments as sheriff? And if reelected, what are your primary goals for a second term?
So I would say the biggest accomplishments is one, that culture change that we needed to make. We've definitely made the sheriff's office more proactive. We've improved our competence through leadership, mentoring, and coaching and training. The deputies are now more versed in how to do things. So the patrol and proactive patrolling, we're definitely out there a lot more than we ever were before. The community has noticed that and they're appreciative of it. We protect the community by networking with them to deter and solve crimes. We're incorporating them into our investigations. We protect the taxpayers by implementing the safest and most cost-effective and logical, efficient jail that we can build. And we're also networking with all the other law enforcement agencies to multiply the results of those efforts. Some of our biggest accomplishments in the first term was the murder convictions on the Pritchard homicide and on the Manning homicide that I will give compliments to County Attorney John Keys on that as well, that we've got good convictions on those, and had the subject from the Maquoketa Caves not ended his own life, I have a feeling we would have had a good conviction on that as well. So we've had some big cases that we've got good convictions on. But even our other cases of thefts and things like that, we're getting a lot more good investigation and follow-through from the sheriff's office, which is leading to those good, solid investigations and prosecutions and convictions on those. Second term, I guess what I'd really like to get into, and everybody knows I hammer hard on the drugs because the drugs leads to the thefts and they're just, the two tie together so hand in hand. I would really like to somehow, whether it's working collaboratively with Dubuque County or Clinton County or the state or somebody, get some kind of narcotics task force going where we'd have maybe a deputy work part-time in that or whatever. I used to be part of the Bear Creek Narcotics Task Force as well, but that's one of my big goals.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Final committee question about what kind of leadership we bring to the Sheriff's Department, and what differs in Sheriff Gilbert? What would you change and why?
Leadership is huge in administration. You got to lead by example. Communication, coaching, counseling, and mentoring. You have to put all that into one nutshell and bring it together to make your team work. Like we stated before, we have several deputies here, but you're also working with several agencies out there. So you could have, well, like the Pritchard case, we to probably 30, 40 officers work in that scene, and you have to communicate to get your missions accomplished. As sheriff, I would communicate that in a more efficient way. That day there, the sheriff said we did solve it. We've solved a lot of murders in Jackson County in the last 10 years. But the sheriff shows up at 11 o'clock, whatever it was, and it happened at 8:06. I was the first one on the scene. I didn't think I thought one of us was going to die that day. I really did. Either me or the bad guy. But that's where that communication comes in. You got to mentor your group. You got to bring them all together to mold a team, a Class A team, so we can do the job we're hired to do. You can't sit around and wait for it to come to you. You have to go get it. Okay? So thank you.
All right, thank you, Bud. We're going to do questions from the audience now. It is going to be the same format. All right, Sheriff Gilbert, what has been your most rewarding and experiencing, what has been your most rewarding experience as Sheriff?
There's several, but I'd say the most rewarding one is actually getting those convictions on those serious crimes that have happened in the community. I feel we've done a really good job for the people, the public, and that makes me feel really good about that. I think that should make them feel like we're invested and that we do a good job and that we're going to keep them safe and we're going to do whatever we can for victims in the community. Some of the other ones is, again, I guess I can't hit on proactive patrolling enough. That's the big one that we did. You just can't imagine how much more that increases, how much more crime you're going to catch, how many more investigations that's going to produce, and just how much more stuff you're going to get into because of that. So I'm very proud of the deputies for going out and being much more proactive, calling out their exit patrols, their town checks, their school checks, all that stuff. They're just out being so much more proactive. So those are the two biggest things, I guess. But I'm also proud of how the team has come together and worked for me and just really developed and taken on the concept of how we want to go into the future and do this forward progression and do more for the community. So those are, I guess, my three big things on that.
Thank you, Brent. Question from the audience to Bud. In your opinion, what is the hardest thing to project in the sheriff's budget?
Everybody has their opinion, and I'm going to give you mine. The hardest thing to project is going to be the jail. It's going to be crazy, folks. We are a county with an older population, which means their income is set. They don't get big raises. We have a jail that, to be honest, I don't know how we're going to afford it. They keep saying we're going to bring in all these inmates from all over. Scott County, Clinton County, Dubuque County. Well, Scott County, I just heard the other day, they just made a deal with Rock Island. They're sending all their guys over there, cheaper. Dubuque County, they're supposed to be redoing a jail there. Clinton County just built a new jail, bigger, better. So I don't know where they're going to come from, but I hope it comes because we gotta fill it with outside people to make this thing work. They said they was going to have 2 people in there. You're going to need more than 2 people in there. You're going to need 3 people if it's full, maybe 4 correctional officers in there. That was one thing I was hoping they would, when this jail was put together, even back when the previous sheriff was there, they should have got together because I had an idea, and I brought it up, that they should move the dispatch center over there and put it right in the center of that pod, because that person has to stay there all the time and look around while the other 2 correctional officers can be out and about. But I think we're too much cost prohibitive now to move it. But anyway, I think there's a lot of things, good things we could do, but I think that's going to be the hardest thing to fund is that jail. I also heard, I don't know, Sheriff, you could hit on this, that we're not going to do female budgets. I heard there are female inmates on long-term out there now. I heard that yesterday.
All right, since this seems to be an issue that seems to be landing a little bit across the table, let's institute the 1-minute response, and then Bud, you'll have a 30-second time, okay?
So on the last question, or what?
You got 1 minute, and then Dennis has 30.
On
For
my question, right?
On that question?
Yeah, he's got 30 seconds on my question.
Let me see the question then.
What's the hardest opinion? Yeah, he gets.
Yeah, the hardest thing in the sheriff's budget is the jail, of course. And more specifically, it's the medical costs of the inmates. Food is one thing, but the medical cost is the major outlier that you'll never know. So you may have somebody come into the jail that is on cancer treatments. And as of right now, the county taxpayers have to pay for that treatment when they're in the jail. So you never know what you're going to get. And that's not up to us, because we don't want to do that either. But that's the one thing that's a problem for us. So that really messes with our budget. So it's hard for me to predict to the chairman of the budget, Mike Steinis, and the audience, from this year to next year, what am I going to get in for inmates? What are their medical needs going to be? I don't know. So I have no idea. That can go any which way. So, and on the jail, opening the mezzanine, the second story, makes sense to do it now rather than later. You don't put a third of the seats in a major jetliner and think you're going to fly it for 10 years and make the money to add the second third of the seats later at a loss every year. So.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Thanks for your 1-minute rebuttal. And now, Dennis, you have your 30-second response clip.
So, going back to that, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to say the medical because you can't trust what that's going to be. The mental issue, not only in Jackson County, but the state of Iowa is crazy. The state wants all these mandates out there, but they don't give us any money to do anything of this. So when we get them at the jail, we have to deal with them. We have to take them to wherever they need help. And guess who's going to pay for that? The state don't have any money for us. So pat yourselves on the back. We pay for it.
All right, thank you. All right, Sheriff Gilbert, question from the audience. What do you think needs improving in the current Sheriff Gilbert department?
Well, believe it or not, we still only have one deputy on at times out in the county. We've set the schedule to where we have overlap and have that second deputy, so we have backup. One of the two is a backup to the other. But in today's day and age, for one deputy to cover the entire county is a lot to ask from one law enforcement officer. So it would really be nice to have at least 2 on, the majority of the times anyway. So somewhere down the road here, whether we get it through a grant or a school resource officer thing or whatever, I'd really like to add at least one more deputy to the sheriff's office so that we can eliminate those deputies being on by themselves and putting their life in danger out there and at such high risk when they're working. Aside from that, I've already touched on it. I would really like to attack the drug problem, more specifically in the county, because that cuts down, when you can attack that cuts down on all your other crimes like your thefts and all the other things that are tied directly to it. So I'd like to do that too. There's other things, equipment and things like that I'd like to get for the deputies. We got to keep up technology-wise, and maybe someday we could even work into some specialty positions. But we don't know where the road leads. It's kind of a journey, and you kind of address what comes up and what becomes the biggest fire at the most important moment, and you try to address it. With going into the new jail, we know we're going to need more personnel to run that. It's going to take a minimum of 3 because one person has to be in that control center at all times. And as far as what my opponent said about having dispatch do that, the state jail inspectors are really frowning on that. They are trying to get away from having dispatchers be in the control center of the jail because they get so tied up that they can't manage or control what they've all got going on, let alone then be watching the jail and supposed to be looking out for the jailer's safety.
Okay, Bud, you have a minute to respond to that.
I guess I haven't heard about the jail inspectors say anything about that. But to hire another deputy, I don't think we need to hire another deputy. We got 13 with 2 part-times that we're just hiring now, I hear. You got 4 or 5 guys working a day shift. You had 4 today, and if you wouldn't have took the day off, there would have been 5 working today. We don't need more personnel. That's added expense to you people. We need to make the schedule so we do not have 4 and 5 and 6 guys working on a day shift. We need to separate them out. I know I work every Saturday, and that's what I'm going to do if I become sheriff. I'm going to work Tuesday through Saturday so you will have extra coverage on a Saturday. Saturdays you have one guy on from 8 till 10, 11, whenever that next guy comes in. All you got to do is move people around. Okay, once in a while you got to be the bad guy. You're the boss. You have to do it.
All right, Sheriff Bill, 30 seconds.
So, yeah, being the sheriff is actually a 7-day-a-week job. It's not just 5. It's the weekends, the evenings, the middle of the nights, and everything. I've covered shifts on the weekends, in the evenings, and always responded when asked. And even when, I take a day off, I was still in the office working today. So, but it's just his lack of experience and lack of exposure of knowing what all the duties and responsibilities of a sheriff's office are. Sheriff's office has a lot of business-related functions that it does during the daytime business hours.
Thank you. All right, question to Bud. All right, here goes. Brian Manning was found guilty of second-degree murder on Friday, March 29th. His family had installed a sign on Highway 61 before the trial and have left it up since, questioning the truth being brought out. You have found this sign with 2 of your election billboards. Do you question the investigation and or the prosecution of this case?
I do not. Matter of fact, the person that called me, I don't know Brian Manning, and I wouldn't know his folks or this girl that called me if they'd walk in that door right now. I knew that was going to come up because I know he probably put that question in there. But anyway, I wouldn't know him. I'm a person, I don't go around when I put signs up. If I have a Schrader sign up, I don't knock on the door at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night in uniform, waking up kids to put a sign up in the yard. I won't do that. These people called me, this lady called me and said, hey, can I have a sign? I said, yeah, where you at? I drop it off. I said, I'll put it up. She said, no, just drop it off. So I dropped it off. I actually dropped 2 off. They wanted 2. And till that day, I didn't know who these people were. And to the case, John did an excellent job prosecuting them. I heard about it, and it was a great case, and it was a done deal. So the jury found him guilty. But to bring that question up, thank you. But I do not go around and ask what their resume is, what their thoughts are. I'm not that way. If somebody wants a sign of mine, I might put it up. I don't go around and knock on people's doors when when Brent has a sign down there. I don't do that. So everybody I know Brent done that because I beat the horn and waved at him one day and he didn't wave back. But he put a sign up that he knew this person wasn't going to vote for him. And he went around Bellevue quite a few places, and there's a lot of places that did it and told him that he wasn't going to vote for him, but there's a lot of people that said no. Now, how do you say no to a sheriff in uniform? I'd have a hard time saying that. If he come up to me, I'd probably let him put a sign in my yard. So, thank you.
All right, Sheriff Pilger, a minute.
So can I put a sign in your yard?
You sure can. Not that big one.
Sorry, I shouldn't have burned my time asking that question, but some of that is absolutely untrue. I'm not saying maybe I did knock on somebody's door at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. I don't know. He says he doesn't go around and do that. I'll guarantee you he does. I've had people complain to me. I've had people tell me how indignant he got when they told him they really didn't want him to put a sign there, and he got kind of unruly with them. Whatever. That's the political campaign game. He's gone around where my signs were and asked to put a sign there. That's fine. I don't even mind him putting a sign next to mine, except for when he tries to block my sign. That kind of irritates me. So, but whatever. It's just more untruthful stuff that gets said, and you just got to base your decision based on that, just like this ad that came out this week.
Okay, about 30 seconds.
What's wrong with that ad? That's a good ad. Anyway, there was people that I would like to have you list the people there. You and I can go talk to them with John there, and I bet you can't find a handful of people with that statement you just said. Now, you talk about calling me a liar. I think you better look in the mirror, okay? Because I think it's going back at you, Brent. I'm sorry. But I'm not a politician. You're a politician. I am not. I do not spend time in Des Moines. You should spend it in Jackson County where these people pay your money.
Okay, the next question to you, Sheriff Gilbert. I am going to invoke the district court rule. No one's allowed to call anybody a liar. All right, Sheriff Gilbert, what makes you feel most experienced and most qualified for being sheriff? You have 31 years compared to Bud 33 years.
So everywhere I've worked a lot of different places, from small towns to large towns like Davenport, to a large progressive sheriff's office like the Scott County Sheriff's Office, where, like I said, we're very progressive. We're on the edge of training, cutting edge of training. We're out there making a difference, being proactive. I've basically put in for a lot of specialty positions, like I said, and I'm not just talking like I've been around this stuff, like I've brushed shoulders with it, like team leader. What is team leader? I put in my resume, which is the SWAT team leader, so he counters that with team leader. School violence leader, what is that? I mean, he's got years and years of experience on here that he's just brushed up against it, been around it, like you're in law enforcement. So what? I'm talking about these are duty positions I've held, like a school resource officer position. Some of these were my full-time jobs for 2 to 3 years. Like I said, field training officer, I did that for years. Active shooter response, we did that all the time in the Quad Cities. Police investigator, who isn't a police investigator? DARE officer, I was a DARE officer for years. As far as I know, they don't even do it anymore. School violence leader, what is that? Incident commander, I've been incident commander on incidents. Evidence technician, did that for a couple years, or for several years. Community-oriented policing is actually a duty position that I held not only with the Davenport Police Department, with the Scott County Sheriff's Office. Trained in police media relations. Like I said, a school resource officer is not someone who just stops in at the school all day long for a lack of anything else better to do. So, I put in for a lot of specialty positions throughout my career. I've done a lot of those specialty duty positions. I've worked in a wide range of offices, and I've got a lot of training even in the military in command and staff positions. So.
All right, Schiller, 1 minute.
Well, I actually made that ad off of your ad.
I know, I can tell.
I went through, and I'm in the schools, not just to be in the schools. I'm in there teaching classes. You go into schools to campaign. You were in the Bellevue schools, all 3 schools yesterday, because you heard me in the schools. Well, I'm in there, I ate lunch with them yesterday. But that ad there is what I am. That's what I do. I get involved with the community. I get involved with the schools. I get involved with their sports. I've seen you at more basketball games this year than I've seen you ever, and people even said that to me. Why? It's a campaign year. So I'm not that way. I am community 365, not 30 days out of the year, 60 days out of the year. So I think it's important that everybody knows that there's a difference between being a politician to a community member.
All right, Sheriff, 30 seconds.
So yeah, unfortunately, being sheriff is a political position, but a sheriff is someone who should go out and do the job and actively be involved in the community and be doing things too. It's not just about showboat and being in the schools. There's days where someone's calling out numerous school checks just to be on the air, making up calls for service. As sheriff, you're so busy doing so many other functions. You're managing 20,000 residents in the county, and you've got all those miles to cover. That can't be right. It is? All right.
All right, thank you. All right, this one for Bud. I'm going to make this into a question form. All right, Bud, do you have an explanation for the lawsuit against you at the Bellevue Police Department? And will this lawsuit be a distraction if you're elected here?
Well, I guess which lawsuit? I'm assuming you're talking about the one that just came out. I can't talk about it, but no, it will not be a distraction. It's a witch hunt. Matter of fact, we can't say nothing about it, but I think the sheriff knows more about it than what he's thinking on too, because I think in the all-about way, I think the sheriff's office is going to get involved in this too, but that's not out either. It's an ongoing investigation with this attorney out of Cedar Rapids. Macoka and the county know about it because they dealt with that same guy a few years back. He's basically an ambulance chaser, so he reached out to these people. We met with our insurance people, and it's an ongoing thing. We can't discuss what's going on with that. So, but when it comes out, it's going to get thrown out, just like the last one we did when we had the 4th of July lawsuit on us. That went on for probably several months, almost years, and all of a sudden it disappeared, and that's what's going to happen here too. They're going to find out that we did everything the way we were supposed to do it, and go from there. That was over the Pritchard case. Turned out to be a county call, if everybody remembers right. And then once again, Bellevue Police Department, along with the DNR, were the first ones on the scene, went in and cleared that building. So, yeah, but a lawsuit I can't talk about because it is ongoing.
All right, Sheriff Gilbert, 1 minute.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with that lawsuit, and I'm not saying, law enforcement is under such scrutiny these days, you don't have to be wrong to be sued. Let's just face it. I mean, we're under the microscope. They're constantly trying to pick us apart and sue us for anything they can. But what's disheartening about that particular lawsuit is, and I'm not saying the accusations are right, I don't know, but the accusations that I read were that there was some service work done for some of the officers in town, and maybe that's why they weren't following through and upholding the law the way it should have been, and there should have been arrests made that weren't made. And then in the end, when the warrant came out for the suspect, were they looking as hard for him as what they could have? I don't know. I'm not going to make those accusations because I don't know that. I don't have firsthand knowledge of that. But unfortunately, if there is some of that going on, you do open yourself up for that. It's that whole good old boy favor thing that you have to be careful of.
And it's 30 seconds.
Once again, Sheriff, you gotta be careful because your deputies assisted us on several of those calls. But that is what it is. Like I said, I wish I could elaborate on that lawsuit, but I can't do that. So unfortunately, I can't until it's over with. But there's more to the story than what it is. We arrested the guy when he violated it, and he went to jail. He got let out. The judge, he gave him 7 days. He said, you got 24 hours to come back. He never showed up. That's what happened.
All right, we'll do another question from the audience, or just one more. Sheriff Philbert, do you do any volunteer work in Jackson County, and please discuss.
Yeah, I'm a volunteer at the Jackson County Fairgrounds, especially for the night of destruction and then the cleanup day, the following day. I not only help prepare the track and all that, but I drive in it and do a lot of stuff that hopefully draws a lot of people from out of town to come in and spend money at our fair and creates a lot of revenue. Do things like that. A whole list of things like the Optimist Club, Fraternal Order of Eagles, AMVETS, the American Legion in Bellevue, the VFW here in Maquoketa. The AMVETS is actually in Preston. There's all kinds of stuff I'm involved in. I go to more meetings and I'm on more committees and more boards than you can imagine. So I'm constantly, if the meetings aren't during the day, then I'm attending those in the evenings, after hours, and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of things I do to help the community and things like that. So.
Thank you. Dennis Bennett.
Am I commenting on his comments or my comments?
I don't think he landed anything on you, so let's talk about your volunteer work.
I do a lot of volunteer work. Matter of fact, I can't say no. My wife hates me for that. I'm involved with Knights of Columbus,
Me too.
Bellevue Chamber. I've been a member. I've been a board member for several years. Bellevue Ducks Unlimited. Haven't shot a duck since 2006. I've been the president of that. Whitetails Unlimited, Isaac Walton, the community club I help out. We put up signs at Cole Park that raises $7,000, $8,000 a year. I probably help raise $50,000, $60,000 a year for our community through the organizations I'm involved with. That all goes back into something other than the volunteers that do it. I put on 3 golf tournaments. I give out scholarships to both schools in Bellevue. If I become sheriff, I'll give out scholarships to every school in Jackson County. We put golf things on raise money for that.
All right, thank you. And I think we started out with Brent, now we're going to end with Bud, and then we'll have a final question for both of them. All right. I'm going to make this sound nice. Bud, it would appear that based on your campaign, you have a lot of Democrats working on your committee. This is a Republican primary. Please explain.
I guess I don't know, actually not a lot of Democrats. My wife's my main supporter, she's a Republican. So I have one on my committee, Sarah Davenport. She held interest of being it. She's good financer, and I hate finance, and I hate computers. So she's good at it. Matter of fact, I had a fundraiser last week, and she's got all that already ready to plug in on, I think it's due the 15th. She'll push a button, it goes. Every quarter we have to do that. So, and you got to have good people. Matter of fact, I think, Brent, you were late doing one of those things one time, I read on the reports. Actually, Sarah told me you were late on one. But anyway, you got to have good people in charge. It's not about being a Democrat or a Republican. I think if it was up to me, there wouldn't be any Democrat or Republicans in the county. It'd be who's best for the job. Not red, not blue. It should be white or yellow or green or whatever. Because it's not about politics. Like I said, I'm not a politician. I never was a politician. I tell the facts, and I do the best job I can when I can do it. Okay? I'm not out knocking on doors, and he said I was a liar for that. I have a text I can show him when we're done, show him knocking and ringing a doorbell at 8:35 at night when people are sleeping in uniform. Once I said, how do you say no to a guy in uniform, especially when he's the sheriff? So, but I guess I don't know where this question comes, but I guarantee you none of my people put that in there. For the Democrats, I have one, I'll admit it. It's Sarah Davenport. So she's an attorney here in town. I don't even know who she works for, never asked her. But thank you.
All right, thank you, Dennis. 1 minute.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? It was,
The question was for Dennis, and the question was,
that doesn't pertain to me.
Why do I have Democrats on my committee?
Yeah.
any response to anything he said about you?
Yeah, I guess now I thought about who he's talking about, that I rang the doorbell of the person at 8:30 at night is because I was over in that area. I didn't realize that the person was a co-chair on his committee. My mistake, foot in my mouth. We had a very professional, nice conversation after that. And somewhere in the future, we'll probably get together. I'll go look at this property that they've redid because I told them what a nice place it was. So, yeah, to me, it doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, whatever. At this level, it doesn't matter. I'm out here working for everybody.
Good answer.
All right, Dennis, you want to do 30 seconds on that?
I think he hit it. He hit a home run there. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. We're working for you. When we go to somebody's house, usually people don't want law enforcement around unless they need you. And then they want you there yesterday. So we're not out here, oh, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, we're not going to help you. We, as in both of us, are going to help whoever. When we leave here tonight, if he needs some backup, I'll be there. I have a 6, just like I'm going to count on him having my 6. Okay? We are a team out here. What goes on in here might be fun to you guys, but it's not for us.
All right, final question of the night, I think we're at, and this is gonna be for both Brent and Bud. And the question is, please say one positive thing about your opponent.
I think being as I went first all night, Bud should go first.
Now, do I get 2 minutes and he only gets a minute, right? I'll tell you what.
I don't think you need
I've
2
known
minutes.
Brent for a long time. I got to spend 12 beautiful days with his wife and Brent in Germany with the Kilberg reunion. Was that 2 years ago? 2 years ago, July. And we had a lot of fun, okay? Like I said, this is not personal. It's not. Some people might think it is. It's not. It's politics. And like I said before, I hate politics. I'm not a politician. I'm a good speaker. I can BS with the best of them, and that doesn't sound for Bud Schrader either. It's BS. But that's probably the thing I'm going to say about Brent and his lovely wife, that we had a lot of good times. We drank some Kilberg wine, went to 2 wineries over there. We had some good pictures at some good police little jail and stuff like that. So we had a good time. As a matter of fact, I talked to him probably, 6, 7 months ago. I said, hey, they're thinking about doing another trip over there. You interested? And he said, I'm going to say heck, but he said, hell yeah. But yeah, we're interested. So, and hopefully they get that together and we go back to Germany together and we'll drink some adult beverages again too. So.
That was pretty positive, Bud. Sure.
So I'm going to point out one thing. Every time Bud brings that up, he calls it my lovely wife, and then he just says me. Like I'm ugly or something. Like I'm not lovely too.
You are.
Yeah. And again, Bud's right. This isn't personal. Now, don't get me wrong. I really wish Bud wouldn't have ran against me for my second term because I don't feel like I've got enough time. I didn't get everything done I want to do yet, and I want to see it through. I've got a vision and a mission, and I want to see it through, and I want to get further down the road. Somewhere down the line, I'm going to retire too. But it just wasn't going to be yet. So I really I had more to do, I guess, is what I felt. And I thought we did a really good job my first term. I thought we have a lot more to offer and we can do a lot more good for the community. You know, I'm not saying Bud's a bad guy. We're up here battling it out. I have the utmost respect for his wife, Jeanette. She's a hard tongue from Preston. I really think she's very educated, good moral, ethical background, hard-working farm family. I really respect that. Good family. Like I said, we went to Germany together. Good kids, just all around good family. So if I'm seeming a little jaded and like I'm taking some jabs, it's because I feel a little offended, like I'm being run against, like I haven't done a good job. And I really feel we've done a good job, and I think we can do a better job even going forward, and we can get more progress accomplished and more done in the future. So, yeah, we've kind of been sparring up here, but yeah, Bud's a good guy too. I know he does a lot for the community, and I have nothing personally against him.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. I think we're now into closing statements. Each candidate will deliver a closing statement lasting up to 3 minutes. Chief Schrader.
Well, thanks again for coming, Brent. I guess we wouldn't be here tonight if you worked as hard the last 3 years as you did the last 6 months. Okay? No pun intended there. We can agree, we can disagree on opinions, but we cannot disagree on facts. I have a lot more administrative experience. You have 31 years at 8 different agencies, 7 without an administrative promotion. So you have basically what you have at the sheriff's office. The morale, in my opinion, is down. You've lost several deputies since you took office. That's a lot of years of experience you can't get back. You can't get back that experience. At a public forum, what really bothered me the most is a couple things. You said that all those deputies left because they were financially and financially better off. That's not true. A couple of them said to me that your management style is too military. They can't take that, and they left. One left because, I know this for a fact, because he took a several $1,000 pay cut because he come to my office to do it. You said you covered several shifts for me when I was down 2 officers, and you covered none. Matter of fact, when I was down 2 officers, we actually took calls for you guys out there. You got to lead by example. Communication, coaching, counseling, and mentoring. Not in words as a slogan, but in practice. Okay? I communicate. Demeaning profanity is not my style. My wife would not stand for me to be cussing. We wouldn't. I don't believe that people working for me are subordinates worthy of their orders, of me just giving orders. I don't believe becoming a sheriff would make me a superior to any one person. I believe in coaching principles. Look what Coach John Wooden, if anybody knows him, UCLA, 10 national championships, basketball, 7 in a row. Coaching works, people. It works. There is no I in team. Okay? People come up to me, Brent, that were supporting you last time at the election and are disappointed on some of the things you did in your campaign promises. That's probably the main reason why I am running. A lot of people come up to me and said, hey, somebody has to run. I said, I'm 50. At that time, I was 58 years old. I said, I got one. My health is good. I got 2 terms, so I got 8 years. So you're stuck with me 8 years, possibly. So to make a long story short here, Republicans, this gives you a better understanding of who I am. I am visible. I am known by many throughout the state. I am highly involved, invested resident of Jackson County. I'm approachable, will listen, will follow through. I'm a person of integrity who works well with others. I look forward to being your next Jackson County Sheriff. I appreciate your vote on June 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff Gilbert.
So not to get into the weeds of all the individuals of that, but the deputy he's talking about left the department before I ever even became sheriff, then contacted me later and wanted to come back, but he wanted his old position back with seniority and pay above and beyond what all the other deputies that we had hired. And the new deputies we've hired have done an excellent job. They're doing great. So I had a little bit hard time doing that, but everybody else left for better pay, better benefits. At least that's what they told me. And by all observances, I think that's correct. So But I'll move on. So since I took office in 2021, we've established decentralized command structure, established policies and procedures, and implemented a training program, all which deter liability. We organized and hosted trainings like critical incident training, where de-escalation is the focus to defuse people when they're experiencing a high-stress crisis. Because the Sheriff's Office deals with so many mental health issues, we made it a priority that every deputy and jailer be certified in CIT. The Sheriff's also took lead in implementing training at the schedule like in the schools, like Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training or ALERT. It integrates all the emergency response entities to work cohesively during large-scale incidents. The PDs in our community, again, took advantage of us hosting this. The school districts have complimented us on how proactive we are. The deputies are asked to visit the schools as frequently as they can. I actively participate in the development of programs that benefit our school districts, like the Youth Task Force and the Juvenile Diversion Program. We've also changed the schedule to be more productive. The old one was inconsistent, caused overtime, was confusing, and didn't benefit the office or to promote training. The new schedule allows for some overlap in the shifts, so deputies have a backup officer frequently, and it easily allows for adjustments due to any unforeseen absences. The communities also appreciate our increase in proactive patrolling. They're pleased with how we are more visible, involved, and invested in our community. They've noticed more arrests on serious crimes like drugs and thefts, and how our presence deters crime as well. We network and partner with organizations like Community Foundation of Jackson County, the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque, Jackson County Emergency Management, ECIA, and other organizations like the state and federal agencies. Through them, we were able to seek grants and stretch our county tax dollars even further. Those relationships have allowed us to acquire necessary equipment like tasers, vests, tactical equipment, squad and body cameras, and drones. We've also reduced jail costs by eliminating unnecessary fluff, synchronizing our trips, and streamlining the committal process. We've established professional hiring practices through a formal interview process, hired our first female deputy in the history of the Sheriff's Office, Melissa Schmidt, in the back of the room, and our only first African American in the county. We've resurrected the K-9 program, which is making more drug arrests than ever. We ensure that deputies follow through with investigations, which turns into a more actionable prosecution and convictions for the county attorney. We network with neighboring agencies for equipment, personnel, and other resources to capitalize on the things we lack, and we offer whatever we can in return. The sheriff's race is really decided on June 4th this year. It's imperative that you vote Brent Kilberg for sheriff to ensure my seat on the Republican ballot this November. Thank you, your sheriff, Brent Kilberg.
Thanks, Sheriff.